today is like if someone's in the hospital, he said, and they're having trouble with their bowels, then if you lay on your back and you bring your knees up and go back and forth like this, it can really help start simulate the peristaltic wave and get people pooping without having to be on Miralax or something like that, right? Which of course is petroleum based and we don't want that. And so I still teach that to people today. I learned that at least 10 years ago. I don't even know. And so we're all laying on this floor doing our legs like this. And it's something that anyone can do if they can move their legs, right? You don't even have to keep one up and down. You can let it fall back and hit the bed or whatever you got to do. So he's just a plethora of information and so many different avenues. Tonight, he's going to be teaching about living a blue zone lifestyle and the secrets to wellness. And I think out of a lot of people, he seems really balanced. I always think that my name of my book is Living Balanced. Sometimes I think it's a little bit of a joke because I think it's pretty hard to do. I don't know. I haven't figured out myself quite yet, unless it comes to chemicals, right? And then I'm pretty good on that spot. But he is just a great example of whole health and wellness, and he'll be presenting to us today. And so let me get this recording starting. Oh, it is already starting. So there we are. We are ready to go. Mr. Ed, are you available and ready?
I'm ready to go. Thank you so much, Stacy, and Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2022. My wife and I are down actually here in Florida celebrating our first anniversary on the beach, and I'm sorry, but it was 72 degrees today. So we had warmer weather than much of the nation. And so by the end of this conversation today, you're gonna have a greater understanding about these hotbeds of longevity around the world and what they're actually doing to actually stay healthy and live to these ripe old ages. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let me just move a couple things around here, get our slideshow. All right, so the name of this this module is called Discovering Blue Zone Solutions, and I am the Director of Holistic Development for Young Living. Interestingly enough, everyone, this was actually created 6 years ago when this is one of the first presentations I created for Young Living when I first became a full-time employee for them. I had been teaching for them for almost 5 years at that point in time, and it's become actually one of the most popular and sought after modules that I teach now. And you're going to see why in just a couple of minutes. So I think you would all agree that the world is a beautiful but very large place. And I've had the privilege of going to many, many areas in the world, traveling and teaching for Young Living and learning about what cultures teach us. And each culture has some very unique things that we can extract as people and human beings that we can learn from them. And how do we utilize that in our daily lives? And you know, a few years back, I was flying into the Turks and Caicos for the very first time, and I was just looked out the window and I was just captivated by the scenery that I saw. And I was just like, oh my God, this is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Well, you know, I had such an experience there. We went on a cruise, a private cruise, and the captain of the ship actually took us to this certain island where this specific conch lives. And he made like conch salad for us, like right on the boat. It was just such an amazing experience. And I just share that because each culture sort of has that in their own thing. So as we said, these cultures teach us, and we're gonna take a trip around the world tonight. You're not gonna have to get on an airplane, and you won't have to worry about standing in any lines because we're gonna do this all virtually. And we have to identify what is a blue zone? What are we actually talking about? Well, this refers to locations throughout the world where, again, these are hotbeds of longevity. And so we have one in Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan. There is one in the US in Loma Linda, California, Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, a very popular destination and hotspot, and IKARIA, Greece. And in these areas, medical researchers have gone in and they've looked at the lifestyle and the environment that these people are living in to identify what it is they're doing to live so healthy and to be so strong and vibrant at very, very old ages. So one of the things we have to do is we have to start this all by looking at what do these blue zones all have in common? Well, you know, number one, they know how to downshift in their culture. Stress is one of the biggest things that we face, and in dealing with stress effectively is one of the easiest things you can do. And You know, it's easy to do when you're on the ocean and you can put your feet in salt water or put them on the sand and you can ground and get those ions from the earth. These cultures have a sense of purpose. Interestingly enough, many of them do not retire. They don't retire. They continue to work and be vibrant into their 80s, 90s, and their, you know, even their as their centenarians. We call it the plant slant. So they're basically eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, lean meats. Many of these cultures actually look at having wine at 5 o'clock, a couple of glasses of wine, and you know that's debatable. Some people don't like that concept, and that's fine. You don't have to do that every day. They have a sense of family first, so their family is one of the most important things to them, and there's a great sense of community with them as well. You know, the 80% rule when it comes to food, you know, many times, especially in Okinawan culture, they have this thing called Hari Hachibu, which is where I'm going to put my chopsticks down and I'm just going to chill out and I'm going to check in to see how close am I to getting to being full, so we're not overeating. They move naturally. We'll talk about this constantly tonight in each culture. They have the right tribe. In Okinawa, they call it Moai, which I'll explain a little bit later. And there's a sense of belonging. Many of them are faith-based, as they are in Loma Linda, California. And there's just a strong sense of community that they have throughout their lifetime. So when we look at IKARIA, Greece, let's stop there and we get on our airplane, we fly over to IKARIA first. And IKARIA is one of the most beautiful places. It is on my bucket list of places to visit. And this is a non-Photoshop picture of IKARIA at night. And to me, just the setting of the houses along the coastline and these rolling hills that they have is just such a beautiful, beautiful place. And when you look at IKARIAN foods, what they're eating, a lot of vegetables and salads, fruits, legumes, potatoes, meats, olive, fish, very little sweets, pasta, rice, and cereal. Now, if you were to reverse that and look at our culture, we probably would have a lot of that in our culture, where mainly people eat sweets and pasta and rice and cereal. One of the things you may not know about the IKARIANs is that they start cooking at a very, very young age. They're in the kitchen, you know, at the age of 1 and 2 and 3, and they don't rely on a lot of modern appliances in their kitchen. There's no KitchenAid thing, you know, it's all done by hand, and there's a lot of manual labor. They stick to their traditions when cooking. And so these traditions are handed down from generation to generation. And what keeps them so healthy. And the foods they eat are actually linked to longevity. And one of them is coffee. Now, coffee does get a bad rap in many senses, but I will tell you that 2 cups of coffee a day actually reduces your risk for Alzheimer's and dementia by about 40% after the age of 60. I drink my 2 cups, that's it. That's all I drink throughout the course of the day. It's actually linked to lower rates of diabetes, heart disease, and Parkinson's as well. Now, I'm not saying it's going to cure those things, but it's actually linked to reducing some of these problems that we face in America. This guy right here, Stamatios Moritis, actually was a very, very well-known man in IKARIA. He lived in the US and was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, in his late 70s. I believe he was almost 80 years of age. He said, what do I have to lose? I'm going to move back to my homeland. He was given 6 months to live, folks. He moved back to his homeland, and guess what? He lived another 4.5 years. Why? He was living in a blue zone where he was doing a lot of things. Now, it didn't cure his cancer, but it prolonged his life for a very long time. And I think that is a very beautiful testament to seeing how living in a blue zone can actually affect your life. Some other longevity foods from IKARIA, well, olive oil is probably number one. They consume a lot of olive oil and olives there too. And people that are doing that have a 50% less mortality rate. You know, we use Olive Essentials, which has hydroxytyrosol in it, which is a great way to get the benefits of olive oil, but they're using it in their day-to-day life on a regular basis. They do a lot of wild greens, arugula, dandelion, which are rich in minerals and carotenoids. These then get converted to vitamin A, and vitamin A is actually essential for growth and development, the immune system, and vision. Vitamin A and vitamin D are close friends. Vitamin D3 actually needs vitamin A to absorb more D3. Those two there are really, really beneficial for our immune system. So you can see they're going to fight off a lot of things in the world, diseases, etc., because their immune systems are working properly. They eat a lot of potatoes. Now, some people say, hey, potatoes have a lot of starch in it, but eating them daily actually helps reduce your blood pressure, helps with inflammation. And again, another great way to fight high blood sugar or diabetes if you've been diagnosed with that. And some people say, hey, I've got to stay away from the starches, but there's many, many ways you can actually eat potatoes to get their benefits. And this isn't the only blue zone that eats a lot of potatoes. And we'll talk about that when we get to Okinawa, Japan. They eat a lot of fermented cheeses as well. And these is made from goat's milk, okay, not necessarily from cow's milk. That has a lot of gut-friendly bacteria in it. These gut-friendly bacteria are actually anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and you can add these fermented cheeses to stews and salads. So one of the things that I love goat's cheese. I don't eat a lot of regular cheese, and I typically add that to a bed of greens with whatever vegetables I'm putting in there, and maybe some lean fish or whatever else we're going to put on top of there to actually give a little bit of protein. So the IKARIA secrets is that they eat meals slowly, and there's a lot more socialization. So they're not just chomping their food down in 30 minutes and then going off and watching TV. They're actually, dinner might be 2.5 to 3 to 4 hours. This means that there's less stress hormones that are produced in the body. And the other thing that they do is they nap every day. I'm not sure if you know this, but the best time to nap is between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. It's when your circadian rhythm is starting to wind down a little bit, but for no more than 20 minutes. So we had a nice walk on the beach today, had a great breakfast. We just hung out, spent some time outside. And I took about a 20-minute nap today from about 2:15 to about 2:35. And I just set my clock, and it just goes. And I always wake up feeling refreshed when I do that. I sleep a little bit longer, not so much. Blue zone tip from IKARIA is that they love lemons there. So just try adding some YL Lemon Vitality essential oil to your foods and or your water. Just make sure you're using stainless steel or glass containers when you're using lemon in your waters. Okay, let's go to Okinawa, Japan. Now, I always love to show a little bit of a graphic, and you can see I've been to Japan 5 times now. I've done 8 city tours in Japan, but I've never been to Okinawa. I was thinking the other day, how cool would it be to do a trip around the world just to all the blue zones? Like just start in one place and spend like a week in each, getting to know these people. And Dr. Mark Hyman, who I greatly respect in the functional medicine world, he just did that actually. And he was blogging from each spot, but you can see where Okinawa is, and it's a very small island, but it has some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And Okinawans are over the age 65, have the world's highest life expectancy. So they live to be, in fact, I just saw today, the woman turned 113, I believe, and she's from Okinawa. They have the highest centenarians in the world, and they suffer much less cancer, heart disease, and dementia than us as Americans as counterparts. So they're doing something really, really well there to live to a ripe old age and still be very, very sharp. Now, when you look at their diet, you can see that it's the Okinawan sweet potato that they use a lot of. And then they have rice and grains, and you can see the breakdown of this. But the Okinawan sweet potato is a superfood for them. I'll talk about some changes that came after the war in a second. Now, these Okinawan sweet potatoes, you can find them. I found them at Whole Foods. They're high in flavonoids, high in vitamin C, high in fiber. These carotenoids give color to the plants and have the antioxidant properties. And it's one of the healthiest foods on the planet. Now, if you go out to Whole Foods or you go to Trader Joe's, where I've seen them there too, one of the ways you can cook them is just cut them in half, prong them a little bit with a fork, put on some olive oil, a little tip from IKARIA grease, right? A little Vitality black pepper, a little Vitality basil, and then sprinkle any other seasoning that you want to put on there. Maybe you lightly salt them with Himalayan sea salt, and you just cook them. Folks, these can be a meal in and of themselves, and they're such a great superfood for everyone. When the war came and it was over, there were some changes that happened that the rice consumption doubled. The Okinawan sweet potato went down to 5%, and look what they increased: milk, dairy, and bread. Okay, all inflammatory in nature. So what do you think happened to their bodies? Well, their bodies started to really inflame up and really have a lot of problems. So dairy, milk, they're all inflammatory processes. Bread, gluten, we talked about that. We have einkorn, which is beautiful, but they didn't have that. So they had a lot of problems post-war. I want to share with you that I met a gentleman a couple of weeks ago at corporate. His name is Dr. Wu. Get to know this name. You're going to get to know Dr. Wu. Can't tell you any more than that. But Dr. Wu is a really, really brilliant man. And he's actually helping to work with Young Living. We talked a lot about Okinawa because that's where he's based and the work that he's doing there. Just a brilliant man. And so there's some beautiful things that are coming down the pike for Young Living. And just keep that in the back of your mind, because I think you're going to all be pleasantly surprised when that comes to fruition. They actually use a lot of turmeric as well. Now, turmeric has anti-cancer qualities. It's an antioxidant, has anti-inflammatory. A lot of studies show it's anti-aging, over 6,200 clinical studies. I'm going to share a little history with you. When I created this presentation, the conduct team at Young Living said, you can't talk about our products as anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-inflammatory. I said, I'm not talking about a Young Living product. I'm talking about the food turmeric. And then they said, oh, well, we need to see the clinical research on that. And I said, absolutely, no problem. I sent them all 6,200 clinical studies. I said, have a great day, everybody. I didn't hear anything back from them, but that's just, that as an educator is what we have to do. We have to validate that if we're saying something, that it's been validated by science, which is a cool thing, but that's how I roll. That's how we can talk about turmeric. Anyways, garlic is another one that they use a lot of. Its consistent intake can actually decrease the incidence of major chronic diseases associated with old age. Inflammation. Inflammation is the biggest thing we're all fighting as we get older. We're also fighting major changes with cellular communication and cellular transport. Garlic helps with that as well. So this is one of the things that you can really do to beef up your foods that you eat. I don't use the word diet because the first three letters in that word are die. Okay, diets do not work. Lifestyle changes work. Health and wellness changes work over the period of time. They also consume a lot of green tea, also known as champagne, and many consider champagne to be one of the most beneficial drinks in the world. Really good for your immune system. It contains a compound called EGCG. EGCG actually boosts immune function tremendously. So just another way for you to understand that green tea has its benefits, and it benefits your immune system in a great way. They're consuming lots of seaweed, great for skin, great for digestion, great for cardiovascular health, rich in folate. Beautiful thing, right? It's like something so simple that we can do. And so this is why in Okinawa, they're living to be ripe old ages. And this is just a great picture here of this woman like down squatting, at her age, squatting and picking up seaweed to then bring home to eat. They also have this thing called moai. And I told you, you remember community in the Power 9 community was really important. Well, it's really important in Japan. And at the age of 5 or 6, they are paired with 5 to 8 men or women, depending on your gender, and they are your lifeline for the rest of your life. You meet weekly, or sometimes if you're still, but they stay connected. Now, I have a lot of good friends. I don't have a lot of really good friends. I have about 5, 6, I'd say 8 or 9 really, really good friends who I could call at any time. And I could ask for help and support. And that's what we really need. Like we don't need 5,000 Facebook friends. We need 9 really, really good people who are going to have your back and be able to be there for you to help process this thing we call life, right? So I don't know. See, the beautiful thing about Young Living is that we have Moai built in, but who are those people for you? Do you know who they are? So maybe I'm going to challenge everyone on this call tonight. And there's 100 and almost a couple hundred people on the call. I'm going to challenge you all to find those 5 to 8 people actually, who are going to be your Moai starting in 2022. And I want you to get a Moai group together, whether it's just something, but part of that is that you have to connect every week to talk and listen and just bear witness to people's lives. All right, let's get on the plane and get out of Japan. Let's go to Sardinia, Italy. If you notice Sardinia in Okinawa, they all have this beautiful blue water, right? And so you can see Sardinia, there's the boot of Italy, and Sardinia is this beautiful, beautiful, island off the coast of Italy. All right, Sardinia is the land of good shepherds. And so men tend to the herds during the day, and the diet that they have is high in milk in cheese from goats and sheep. Again, not cow's milk, which is high in casein, which is inflammatory in nature. And so that's really a good thing. So these men are actually out in the fields all day long, tending to their flock. And if you look at these fields, what they're finding why are these men so healthy cardiovascular wise? Because they are in the fields and they're doing this continuous low level movement of going up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. Look, you don't have to do high impact interval training. If you want to, that's great. Where you're going to get the most benefit actually is having that low intensity impact aerobics on a regular day basis. When I'm in Florida, as I've been now for the better part of a couple months, I'm on my bike every day. I'm on my bike for 30 minutes, just cruising around the neighborhood. It never really gets too intense unless I want it to be. So this is what I've put into my action in my fitness plan so that I can replicate what they're doing in Italy. Now, they also have the world's longest lived men, and there's a ratio of 1-to-1 of centenarians between men and women. Their diet is linked to lower heart disease. And interestingly enough, the women bear most of the day-to-day stress, but they are not dying at a young age. So what does that tell you? They're actually dealing with the stress really well. And so there's a culture shift too, that very few people retire. They just continue to work and they work. And why? Because it gives them a sense of purpose. Someone asked me the other day at a holiday party over the holidays, they said, "Hey Ed, well, you're 60, when do you plan on retire?" I said, "Never." And I fully mean that. As long as Young Living is around, I will continue to work and add value to this amazing company because there's no reason to retire. I love what I do. This doesn't seem like work to me. This seems like I'm just sharing my passion with people. And that I can do all day long, and that I can do well into my 80s, 90s, and even past 100. So some of the foods that they're eating, that they have a lot of high grains, they have a lot of dairy, they have a lot of, remember the dairy is sheep and goats, vegetables, meat, fish, and poultry make up about 5%, legumes, your beans, etc. Sugars are very low, and added fats. No, fats get kind of a bad thing, but the best thing you could do every day is eat an avocado. Some of the best fats you could ever eat, and your body needs fats. The whole fat thing came out of low. What did they do back in the 80s? They said, "Oh, we need to go to a low fat diet." Why? So they could put sugar in it and inflame your body. That's exactly what they did. All right. And they have fruits, which is about 1%, and they consume about 2,800 calories a day because they're so physically active over the course of the day. Their longevity foods: fennel, digestion and cardiovascular support, fava beans and chickpeas provide the fiber and the protein, tomatoes, vitamin C, potassium. I remember I was just listening to a talk that Gary gave back in 1990, because I've been doing a lot of research into a lot of his talks that he gave. He was talking about having tomatoes cooked the right way so the lycopene comes out, and that the tomatoes are actually acid binding, reducing your acid in your body. I was like, oh my God, why are people not talking about this? I'm having a new appreciation for Gary. I always knew the man was brilliant, but now I think he was a genius because he was talking about things 30 years before his time, 30 years before anybody else was. All right, let's cruise on over to Loma Linda, California. And this is the one blue zone that we have in the United States. And I want to introduce you to this guy, Dr. Ellsworth Wareham. And he was a very significant man. He was 101 years old. He was a cardiovascular surgeon. He practiced cardiovascular surgery, open heart surgery, till he was 95. He was vegan. He said he really didn't stress all that much about life. He slept really well. He liked to take a nap every day. He was really a proponent of conserving your energy. And he said, all tastes are acquired. So when your kids say, ew, I don't like those vegetables, all you have to do is say, all tastes are acquired. That's all you have to do. We had a rule in my family growing up that you had to at least try the foods on your plate. And if you didn't like it, that was okay. But it's funny, like all the foods that my kids didn't like as kids, they all like now. So it was just a matter of getting them exposed. So Dr. Ellsworth actually lived to be 101 years old, and he did a great job at taking care of himself. And I want to use this little map right here because this shows you when you look at Sardinia, Okinawa, Japan, and oops, let me go back. And you start to overlap some of these blue zones in Loma Linda, you can see really in the red what they had in common, right? Family first, plant-based diet, constant activity, social engagement. All these have a lot of legumes, and there was a lot of camaraderie in these communities. And on the outside, you could see some of the things that they don't have in common, but are all linked to blue zone activity. Now, some of these people in Loma Linda are very strong, very centered, very calm. This was my mother at 96. No, just kidding. Doing crane pose. If you've ever done yoga and you try to do crane pose you're basically holding up your whole body weight, pretty much 90% of your body weight on your arms. This is not it. So yes, your hips have to be open, but she is from Loma Linda. She also engaged in a lot of physical activity and movement via yoga. So I just wanted to put that in there. All right, so the Seventh-day Adventists are part of Loma Linda. They're a big part of Loma Linda, and there's about 9,000 of them and growing in that region of our country. There's no alcohol or tobacco that they use at all, ever. Saturday is their Sabbath day, so it's a very special day for them. They support a biblical diet. If you don't know what that is, then I would ask you to look that up. And they have the lowest rates of heart disease of any other place in the United States. And interestingly enough, they live 10 years longer than all the rest of Californians together. Now, if you think of California, one of your first impressions might be, oh, hey, California's super healthy. Yeah, they're eating vegetables and chewing on nuts. They do live pretty healthily, but in Loma Linda, on average, they're living to be 10 years older than everybody else. Some of their foods, you can see high in vegetables and fruits and legumes and soy. Again, if you're getting soy, try to get a non-GMO soy. You can find it out there, but it's difficult. Dairy and grains, even less. And then the eggs, fats, fruits, nuts, and seeds are all a little bit less of their diet. So again, it doesn't matter what blue zone you go to, there's different proportions and percentages about what they're eating, but you can see that they're doing a really, really good job at diversifying and eating the things which are really healthy. Now, they also like to have a lot of nuts around, almonds especially are superfoods for your heart. A handful of nuts a day is actually something that was really, really suggested. It lowers your cholesterol, your blood pressure, helps inflammation, helps with diabetes, and almonds can help with blood sugar spikes with diabetes. So almonds are a superfood. I prefer unsalted, and as my wife has taught me, really soak those overnight for the next morning so that you can eat them. It helps to release some of the nutrients in there. There was an NIH study that they did on these Seventh-day Adventists, and it followed 34,000 of them for 14 years. And they did 5 things specifically which added to their life expectancy. I'm going to tell you that you've heard all of these before. So the message is how are you going to put them into action? And those things were no smoking, nuts every day, maintain a healthy weight, exercise daily, and adhere to a plant-based diet. I'm not against meats. I'm not a vegetarian, but I just eat very little of it because it's just really super hard to digest and break down for the body and really causes a lot of oxidation. And I don't need any more inflammatory markers going up in my life. They also looked at meat eaters versus vegetarians, and the meat eaters consume more soft drinks on average. They weighed about 20 pounds heavier. But what they found when they did this research, it was the pescatarians. It was those people who were consuming a lot of fish in their diets, getting the omegas, the omega-3, 6s, and 9s that they need for a healthy heart. So again, I eat meat, I eat chicken, I eat quality cuts of those things when I eat them, but I consume a lot of fish. Last night, for our anniversary dinner, we went to our favorite restaurant here on Longboat Key, and I consumed, we had red snapper, and red snapper is such a tasteful fish. But when I'm here in Florida, I consume as much fish as I can, and actually will buy some, freeze it, and take it back when we go to Tennessee so that I can have it there as well. All right, longevity foods of Loma Linda, salmon, beans, lots of water. Make sure water filtration systems are a must if you don't have spring water, which most of us don't. Avocados, which are really good for all the fats, and a lot of oatmeal, which helps a lot of B vitamins. Oatmeal is a really good way to start your day. All right, let's go to Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and you can see this little red arrow over here where it is and what it's doing. But this is a really remote place. And this is one of the places that is still pretty remote, but doing a great job. And so we have to look at the CHOROTEGA factor. And the CHOROTEGA factor is this tribe that is a very faith-based group of people. And they're getting super high levels of vitamin D, again, low intensity physical activity all day long, whether cutting trees down or fishing or doing whatever, then they're doing this all day long. So they're not out running marathons. They're just out there doing what they do on a day-to-day basis, having that low intensity physical activity. They actually consume a lot of corn tortillas too, and this is linked to an extended lifespan for them. And they use what's called a fogon, which is a wood burning stove made of clay, and it's a staple in their diet. It's just one of the things that they consume on a regular basis, and vegetables and grains make up about 40% of what they eat. They also do some really cool things, and they have this, what is called milpas, and they're known as the three sisters. And a milpa is a system of growing. And what they do is they grow beans, corn, and squash. And so the squash is the ground cover, the corn grows tall, and the beans climb up the corn stalks to actually grow. I tried doing this one year. It's a lot harder than you think, but it's a great way for them to get the ground cover with the squash and then actually grow the things that they want to grow. So if you want to grow corn, if you want to grow beans, and then you want to grow some squash, just give it a try in your garden next year and see if you can do it. And if you are successful, let me know. I want to know your secret. They actually have a lot of papayas, which are rich in vitamins A, C, and E, yams rich in B6, and maize nixtamal, which is they make daily. And this is a picture of their maize nixtamal here. Again, this is a staple of their diet. This helps become a lot of the food that they eat on a regular basis. And again, these people are out working in nature, doing what they love with low intense physical activity on a regular basis. Now, a lot of times when we work, we go to a chair or we go to an office, or we're not outside working the land like these people are. This lady, her name is Panchita Castillo. In this picture, she is 103 years old. She is still alive. I believe she's 106. But just look at this woman's face. Look at the vibrancy in her face at 100. She's like, hey, I'm here. I'm with you guys. Like, it's just, this is what we're talking. She should be the poster person for the blue zones. I mean, look at that smile. Look at the vibrancy in her. And I want to talk a little bit about our own home, because here's some practical things that we've learned from blue zones, and I want to share those tips with you. So number one, blue zone your kitchen. Clear the space on your countertops. I have a bowl of fruit on my countertop. I have a set of knives, and that's all I have on my countertops. I don't have anything else. And studies have shown if you can clear the space, you're less likely to have junk food hanging around your kitchen. Number two, have a small pantry. Buy smaller quantities of food. Let's not, fear shop because, things are going on in the world. Large pantries, people cook 23% more food, which means they're eating 23% more food. And you're more likely to store unhealthy foods with a larger pantry. Some other tips: put a sign up to remind you of your nutritional things that you're working on every day. Downsize your dinner plates. We went from big plates a couple of years ago to very smaller plates to put less food on there. Remove all electronics from your kitchen. You don't need a TV in your kitchen. I don't know why you would put a TV in your kitchen. Fresh fruit in the kitchen always, because that's an easy and that's a healthy snack. And have a junk drawer of food, but that drawer is very small. The only thing I keep in that drawer is dark chocolate. Okay, so if I want a little snack and I want something sweet, I'm going to have a piece of dark chocolate, and that's it. And it's really nice cacao, and it's a really good quality of chocolate. So don't deny yourself if you want a little bit of a snack. Now, Young Living does have some blue zone support, so let's talk a little bit about that. So anything enzymes coordinated, because enzymes are actually really, really important for the body to process foods. People in blue zones are getting a lot of natural enzymes from the foods they eat. Most of us are if you're eating fairly healthy in the US, but your body needs a lot of help in assimilation to break down these foods. Utilize your vitality oils in your cooking as much as possible, okay? Get those benefits of those oils in your food. Just be careful. I've ruined a lot of meals by putting too many drops of vitality oil in my food and said, oh shoot, I have to start over and it's 9 o'clock at night. Master formula, they are getting the nutrients, the full spectrum vitamins and minerals from the food. Most of us are not. So add this to your protocol. High in zinc, excellent source of pantothenic acid B5. Both of those are important for the gut health lining. We want your gut health to be nice and healthy. Omega Gi's 3. Well, it is your omega-3 fatty acids, your CoQ10. It decreases with age. It's got vitamin D3 and it supports brain, eye, heart, and joint health as well, okay? Most of us are not eating enough fish to get that from those omegas from the fish, okay? So, or other sources. So just know that this is a really good way. And don't worry, we have a suggestion at the end. Sulfurzyme should be a product everybody on this call should be taking. It is one of my top 5 supplements from Young Living. It's made with the wolfberry MSM. It's got methylsulfonomethane. This product, I will tell you, is one of the things is going to keep you healthy, protects your cells and your cell membranes, and replenishes the connections between the cells. Oh my goodness, that's a great thing. And the MSM supports your immune system, your liver, your circulation, proper intestinal function, and it works to scavenge free radicals. Okay, just read that last line to yourself. Take 10 seconds and read that last claim. That's probably, if that doesn't get your attention as to why you should take it, look, a product is only an issue in the absence of its value. We've just handed you the value of sulfurzyme, and there's a ton more we could talk about. But if I said to you, hey, this supplement's going to help your immune system, it's going to help your liver, your circulation, your intestinal function, and by the way, it'll scavenge free radicals, I'd be like, sign me up. So again, there is a difference between sulfurzyme powder and sulfurzyme capsules. Okay, know that difference if you don't know it. If you don't know it, then I'd like you to learn it. All right, Multigreens was our very first product that Gary put essential oils in. It used to be called Vitagreens, and it was called something else even before that. It's a neutrophil, a nutrient-dense chlorophyll infusion, supports your circulatory, your glandular, your nervous system. It's high in choline, which is great for liver function. Your liver is the master detoxifier. High in cysteine. Cysteine is a chelator too, and cysteine helps to pull heavy metals out of your body as well. But it's also important in glutathione production. What is glutathione? The most important antioxidant in there is. It's the king or the queen, depending on your gender, of all your antioxidants in your body. So Multigreens is essential. Now, here is the bundle. You want to start 2022 out right. You want to change your health and wellness regime. Get some enzymes. Get some sulfurzyme. Get Multigreens. Get Nature Red. Get Master Formula and get Lime Essential Oil. There's a reason why I'm putting Lime Essential Oil in here. I want you to figure that out. I just don't want you, and this is the bundle. This is a great way to start the process in 2022 so that you can be on the track for health and wellness. And people will say to me, Ed, well, that seems like a lot of money. That's a large price point. I heard someone say one time, you can pay now or you can pay later. I'd rather pay now. I'd rather pay today. All these are in my cabinet as we speak. All these are with me everywhere I go, because I understand the importance of them. And if I don't understand the importance now, all I do is I invite health challenges in my life later on in my lifetime. So, you know, really get Sulfurzyme, Multigreens, Master Formula, Nature Red, Essential Zymes for any enzymes that you can get, and then Lime Essential Oil. Put the lime in your Nature Red, put the lime in your water, just put it in there. It's one of the best things that you could do for your health and wellness. It would not be a thing if I didn't leave you with another recipe. And I call this the Blue Zone Smoothie. And it's blackberries and blueberries, unsweetened almond milk or cashew milk, but just make sure it's unsweetened. You could take Pure Protein Complete. You could use either the vanilla or the chocolate. 1 scoop, not 2. 2 ounces of Nature Red, a little spritz of kale or spinach, and a drop of lemon or lime Vitality in there, depending on your choice. And this could be something that you consume as a snack, as a thing. It is delicious. A friend of mine's daughter is 6, hates smoothies. She drinks this one every day. Every day. The kid's like, will you make me the Blue Zone smoothie, Mom? And the mother's like, yes, of course, because she knows how healthy it is. You know, here's something to think about for Young Living in 2022. And this is a little bit of a tagline that I want you to start getting used to saying. Nature is everything to us at Young Living, and we love nature's living energy. And if Gary was here and he was on this call, he would totally back that up, because he was the man that helped us to understand and love nature's living energy when he started Essential Oils. So Stacy, that is our content for today. I'm sure there's a question or two out there, and if people have questions, I would just love for them to unmute themselves, tell me where you're from, and we'll see if we can get your question answered.
There was a great question. I'm not sure who it was, but she said she's allergic to sulfa medication. Can she still do sulfurzyme?
Yes, because sulfa and sulfur are 2 different things. A sulfa drug is not the same. Dr. Lindsay Elmore, my good friend Lindsay, gave us that many, many years ago, right, Stace? I'm sure you remember that. So a sulfur drug does not have this chemical composition as sulfur. So yes, you can use that. That's a common question and a great question.
Let's see, someone unmuting. Unless someone's unmuting, if someone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, please do so. But I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I love that you're saying your wife just taught you this. I'm sure perhaps you knew about it before, but when it comes to nuts, you want to soak most nuts about 7 hours. Cashews, maybe not, but almonds definitely. And it's really important when someone's doing a nut milk and making your own, that a lot of times they're just grinding up the nuts in their Vitamix or whatever they're doing it. And there's a new machine for that. But if you don't soak them, then you're not getting the enzymes. So whether you're eating raw or organic nuts, hopefully not like planters, of course, right? And a lot of people get stomach aches from eating them. But if you haven't soaked them first, that would be the main reason why, because it takes so long to digest if you haven't already activated the enzymes, because nuts are like a bean. So there's no way you could eat a black bean or a pinto bean or something like that unless you soaked it first, right? So you can go Google that and you'll find a lot of information. You don't want to do a whole gallon of nuts at once, because just like a handful, if you're going to eat a handful the next day, because they only last for a couple of days, because they will start molding like in 3 to 4 days, especially if it's in a warm climate, excuse me. And so that's just something, but then you can really absorb the protein, the nutrients, the good fats, and the enzymes already when you soak your nuts. And what you're saying about Master Formula, for those people like my father, he likes Master Formula because it's a packet that's ready to go. He doesn't have to open all his little packages up and take things. Where like, I don't care if I have to open up all of them and take something, but Master Formula, like if someone's really looking for easy and convenience, even my son, he's 22. He's like, Mom, what's easy? I'm like, here's this packet, just open it and take it. So sometimes that helps. And a lot of people really feel a good difference by taking that. And I love what Ed said. I've always said it's easier to prevent a fire than put one out. I like you, what you're saying, you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay it later. But my grandma, some people may have saw this, just passed away this last week, and she was 94. And until 2 days before she passed, because I did the hospice care with her, she had her sound mind, knew everything. She was a nurse by trade, but she just loved, she made her own chai tea with the oils, you know. And she's 94 and she had to learn from the old way to the new way, and has been doing this for about 10 years with me. And like, I don't know anyone's memory who's better than hers that I know personally, that I've talked to on a regular basis. Like, she could outdo so many people I know. So it's just like keeping up the nutrients. And she kept walking, and she'd walk to the supermarket with her little walker. I was like, please don't get hit by a car, but she did this and kept active because she wanted to be active, and, to be 94 and know everything still, from when you're a childhood to your, I think she has 14 great grandchildren that was just born, and she knows the name and what happened during the birth and everything. That is like amazing. So it's so exciting to hear these other stories, and I'm sure she's blue zone somewhere in her head. But did someone unmute themselves for a question?
I did. Hi, it's Jody. I noticed that you said there's a difference between the sulfurzyme capsules and the sulfurzyme powder.
Mhm.
Would you mind sharing that, please?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes, I do mind. I'm gonna tell you why, because you can go right online. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why I'm gonna say no. Because sometimes, actually many times, when we are fed information, we remember it less. But when we have to work for it, when we have to go online to Young Living's site and say sulfurzyme powder, what's in there? What's actually in sulfurzyme capsules? What is the difference? You've had to work for that. Even if it takes you a minute, it's your time that you have to invest, right? And you will never forget that. And I had a great mentor teach me that 25 years ago.
I find that
just
funny.
think it's a really good way to learn.
I find it funny because actually I am a teacher and I'm currently taking the capsules and notice a benefit to that. So that's why I was wondering what the difference was. So I appreciate your talk.
It's one small difference, but when you do that, when you learn that, I want you to share it with everybody on this call, or just share it on Facebook, or hey, this is what I found out, and just own it. Like when you learn something new, it's like, and you get to share it. Do you know that after 3 times, like if Stacy taught us something right now and say it was about like the almond thing, right? And we learned that, you give credit 3 times for that. I learned this from Stacy Kimbrell, and she said, but you do it 3 times. And then the 4th time, you actually say it like you know it and you own it. That's an empowering statement, because you've given credit to the person, but you've also now saying, well, I am empowered too, and this is the knowledge that I'm departing on you, right? So and thank you for teaching. What grade do you teach?
Well, I stepped back a little bit to move to Mississippi to help my daughter with her young one as she's finishing school. Okay. So I'm trying to learn more about Young Living so I do many things with it. I just haven't tackled the social media part. That's a little different for me. But I had younger, and then I actually had adults with the mental and disabilities. So
thank you for all your work that you've done in helping those people and help teach them.
Thank you.
So
thank you. I truly got a lot out of your presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for being on the call.
Thanks.
Cindy Perkins unmuted herself, so I think she may have a question as well.
Yes, I'm just wondering if you take the master formula, like we take the Super C and the Super B and the Ningxia and everything else, do we exclude that and just do the master formula, or can we include all the Omega Jis and Super C and B and?
Right. So there are some, obviously in master formula, it's all encompassing, right? It depends on several things. It depends on what are your stress levels like. If your stress levels are high during, they have been high and continually high, then you're probably leaching B vitamins always, and you're leaching a lot of, C vitamins and vitamin D as well. So it could be a little overkill. If you're not living such a stressful life, master formula would be good. If you're starting to have, symptoms of a cold or something like that, you want to bump up on your antibiotics, Super C, Super B. That's what I tell people all the time. Just know your ABCs, like, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E. So yes, and also just, maybe this is the time of year where I recommend to everyone to get a SpectraCell analysis. So, this is just a blood draw where they can tell you, it's a micronutrient panel, your vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Probably everybody on this call is deficient in at least 1 or more minerals, probably 1 or more amino acids, and probably at least 1 vitamin. So it's a very clinical way to look at what is going on in my body and how do I need to target my nutritional support to meet that.
Yeah,
so this is one of the things I'm working on with Young Living, because my vision, I don't know if you've heard of SpectraCell, but it's a $650 test. in most places. You can get it cheaper some places, but I want to align with SpectraCell. Imagine if we aligned with a SpectraCell and we got that $490 or $500 to $650 price tag down to 99 bucks. Would you do that? Would you get an analysis like right away for 99 bucks?
Yeah, I do. I go to a live blood and dried blood analysis.
Good.
But
So-
that's different still.
That's a different one though. So live blood analysis is different than SpectraCell. SpectraCell looks at the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. So that would be my suggestion for everyone on the call. I have an appointment at the end of this month, so I'll be going to get mine drawn, and then I'll get it drawn again in July just to see, and then I can target my nutrition towards that to see where I'm deficient. And I'm always deficient in at least something. I don't seem to get away from it. I never have. So just try that, and hopefully that will help.
Okay, thanks, because I'm
Thank
under
you.
a lot of stress right now, so.
So you're probably leaching B vitamins and C vitamins and vitamins. So yes, you might need that extra support, but sometimes this is, so, okay, so let me just put this in perspective. When I was working on a surgical floor as a nurse and a patient came up to me, we took baseline vital signs. And why were those important? Because I want to know where that person is right when I first meet them on the floor, right? And so if there's any deviation, suddenly the blood pressure has gone from 120 over 80 to 180 over 100. Well, that's a major deviation from the baseline. So always know your baseline. And that's what we're doing with SpectraCell. We're saying, hey, by knowing my numbers, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, I can then target my nutrition better, and I can be more effective in my targeted nutrition. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So where do you go to, in Canada, where do you go to find this?
Just go on to spectracell.com and just you should be, it'll say find a provider, and you should be able to find one there. I think it's a little bit harder in Canada, but you could probably, I don't know where in Canada you are, but if you're around one of the major cities, you should be able to find someone there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have time for one more, everyone, and then I have to jump, and I have a lovely dinner planned with my wife. So let's take one more question, Stace.
Someone was saying they have low vitamin D, but she's in Thailand, so I know she probably doesn't have access to our Super D. But her level is 18 to 20, which is extremely low because it usually should be what, like 60 to 80,
Right.
depending on your lab values, where you're at. So she definitely needs to get hers up. Do you have any different suggestions for her so she may not have our Super D available?
Yeah, number one, just get some sunshine, get out in the sun. 10 minutes of sun will actually up your vitamin D levels significantly. I mean, just do that as much as you can. And then I would say research and target the foods that you know are going to supply that vitamin D2, but sunshine is so important. But it's interesting. In South Florida here right now, you can still get adequate levels of vitamin D. And we're one of the only places in the United States right now. When we go back to Tennessee on Wednesday, we're not going to get that, because even if it was a sunny day and 70, you're not going to get your vitamin D from there. But in Thailand, they're pretty constant over time. So sunshine and targeted foods nutritionally to help meet that. And that would be my humble suggestion.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your expertise, and we'll get ready for the next speaker. And Ed has had other talks with us, and obviously he's all over. So you could definitely Google his name or go to Grow Facebook page, and we'll have the links that will be in here as well. And you can see all the past recordings as well. So, and I know he went over sulfurzyme for powder versus capsules there as well. So, but okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful dinner. And thank you so much for coming to us tonight, especially on your anniversary. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
One thing that I'm sure that Ed agrees with is that supplementation, like the goal is not to be on supplements every day, all day for the rest of your life. And, like, let's say 12 or 20 of them at a time, right? But there are times that our body is deficient or having other struggles that we can help to support ourselves, or like the stress levels and different things. So this is when we want to make sure that our body, if you're missing an organ, gland, or system, then you need to support yourself. But we should do the most we can do from our foods. And of course, I personally always believe in a liquid vitamin, which we have our Ninja Red. And I believe heavily in enzymes and good fats as a minimum basis of everything. But like when you're flying in a plane, you know, you should always, I always do inner defense. I always do my thyromin, and I kick that up another notch. You know, there's different things. So just learning about all the different products. If you don't have a reference material that is that you need, if you're new, that you need to learn about these products, and you need to get those reference guides so that you can literally look and see what it says that you can do for each thing and how you can support all your organ glands and systems, which you have 20, oh my gosh, I just forgot. It's either 27 or you have 29 organ glands and systems. So there's a way you can support all of them. So that is amazing. Okay, let me stop this recording and we'll get ready for Eric. Just one second, please.